Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Final Whistle podcast. Today, we're straying away from football to some other sports, and I'm joined by a golfer who has represented England at competitions, played on the Ladies European Tour, and most recently has returned from competitions out in Singapore and South Africa. I'm joined by Cara Gainer. Thank you for joining me here. Delighted to have you. How are you doing?
Yeah, thanks, Harry. Yeah, I'm really excited to speak to you today and hopefully, answer a few of your questions.
So we'll start off with a slightly less serious question. Obviously, you're on the road quite a lot, going all over the world. Is there something, maybe a food or a guilty pleasure that you like to take with you when you're jetting about? For me, obviously, a crunchy is quite a good take wherever I go. But is there anything like that you take with you?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of down the similar route to you actually, but I'm going more with the dairy milk and Galaxy,
Good
just
choice.
because obviously when we're away, we're obviously in foreign countries and you just can't get very good chocolate. So usually I take a big dairy milk with me or something, just for, a square or two in the evening, just to keep me going. But
Emergency
I
supplies.
do have a bit of a sweet tooth.
And obviously, we've mentioned professional golfer. Was sport a big part of your life growing up?
Yeah, massive part of my life. Yeah, and it still is. So, when I was younger, I was really into sport. I played all the sports at school, hockey, football, tennis, netball, all of those, usual sports. Picked up tennis quite early on. So when I was sort of 6 or 7, through my school. And then I started going to sort of more training and, getting really into tennis. And I ended up being quite competitive at tennis for quite a long time. In my sort of early, senior school years, I kind of was probably playing sort of my best tennis, I guess. And then I sort of ended up stopping. Well, actually, I carried on playing until I was sort of 17, but not competitively. Golf was already on the horizon at that point.
And I don't know whether this is correct. I got given to this as information, but when you were doing tennis, did you do junior Wimbledon?
No, that is not correct.
Oh, my sources have let me down there. Right. So
I
you mentioned,
mean, it was possible, but it never happened. And that was kind of where it was sort of decided that, I wasn't quite getting to the next level. With tennis, you have to be basically turning pro at such a young age. It's a sport where, when you're sort of 13, 14, you're making big decisions with what you're going to do. And I couldn't quite take that next step, and I kind of realized that, and that's where it kind of, I guess, faded away at that point.
and you obviously mentioned about picking up golf and getting going with it. What was it about the sport that appealed to you?
I guess it was, similar to tennis. There's a lot of transferable skills there, a ball, hand-eye coordination, individual sport. So I think the individual aspect for me was probably what drove me to it, because I think although I enjoy team sports, and I did when I was young, I think I don't necessarily like relying on other people, when you're playing in a team event. So at least I know if I put all the work in, I dedicate myself, and it's all down to me then, and it's, I can't blame anyone else, only me.
Yeah, and obviously you joined Castle Royal Golf Club around 16, I think, and obviously that's not too far from us here. You won the Ladies Club Championship there. Was this a kind of point where you thought maybe I can take this pro and do it as a kind of a job?
I mean, probably not anything at Castle Royal in terms of a moment. I'd say, I mean, obviously I went to university at Cardiff and had a great time there and got my degree, and that was really important. As a plan B and things like that, because I wasn't really serious at that point in turning professional, even at university. So that's when I'm sort of 20 anyway. So I had obviously won club championships already before that, but it was more of a hobby at that point. And it wasn't anything really sort of serious that I wanted to pursue, until I then took a gap year once I finished university, and I decided to play, the full amateur schedule for the women's golf. And I won the English match play, which was a big national event, and I was, I'd come from being complete outsider. No one had heard of me. I was playing against all the England team players and, things like that. And I won that event. And that was probably sort of quite a key moment in terms of sort of, telling me that maybe this could be something that I'm good enough to be part of. And, with such little practice, I mean, at university, I really wasn't playing much. So to have come out, out of the block so quickly, I guess kind of proved to me that, if I actually put some time and dedication into the sport, then, you never know what could happen.
Yeah, and throughout your golfing so far, you've been coached by Rob Watts, who's works at Castle Royal as well. And there's videos online of you golfing in some very heavy snow on his channel. How has he helped you develop as a golfer?
Yeah, I mean, he's been really instrumental in everything that I've done, on and off the course, really. He's sort of led me in the right direction with everything that I've been doing technically, as well as, course strategy, management, just as an all-round player. He's super technical, and he's obviously worked with many great players before, so he has a lot of experience in working with top level performers. So he I mean, we've just worked really closely together for such a long time, and I think once you have a bond with a coach and he's sort of seen you develop so much, there's always, because if you mix around with different coaches, it gets really difficult to try and work on a few, if you're working technically on things, to then try and have loads of other opinions, and you just stick to one person and it's just a lot easier. And we get on well, and he's at Castle Royal, which is perfect for me because obviously it's my home club, and it's, he can just pop over for even if it's just 5 minutes, just to have a look at a few things. Rather than I know some girls, drive 3 or 4 hours to see their coaches. So it's just really convenient, and he's a great guy, and, I really enjoy working with him.
And obviously you said there you've had him all the way through. Have you got any messages from him or kind of advice that sticks with you when you're in the moment? Anything really important that you kind of always take with you when you're golfing?
Yeah, I mean, I think he always, the word ruthless is always very prominent in my mind when I think of him, because he always tells me that I need to be more ruthless. And it's not really about anyone else on the, when I'm playing, but it's just really ruthless in what I'm doing, whether it's my routine, whether it's how I'm feeling, or, what shots I'm going to hit. Or if, even, my playing partners are annoying me or something, I've just got to be ruthless about that and just get on with what I need to do and what I need to focus on. So yeah, that I actually write that word in my yardage book before I play every event, just so when I open my yardage book, I can see that word straight there, and it just brings me back down to, what I want to do that day.
And obviously being a pro, it's a massive achievement and something that not many people playing will be able to reach. You've obviously mentioned there winning the England Open match day, and obviously in the Belgian Open as well in 2022, you did really well. But what for you personally has kind of been your biggest achievement, throughout your golfing?
Yeah, I mean, of probably, my second place in Belgium would be a professional highlight, and it was quite a key moment, because kind of since that time, which was sort of May last year, I've really kicked on from that moment. So I feel like it gave me a lot of confidence, that result. I came second to basically one of the best players in the world, Lynn Grant, who has proved herself in week in, week out, really. So it kind of showed me that I'm good enough to be here, and I'm good enough to be playing against the best players. And yeah, since then, I mean, I'd also say probably my performance in Saudi Arabia, which was in November. Sorry, not November. I played so many tournaments, I can't remember. No, it was last month, which must have been in February, end of February. It was a big tournament, $5 million event, which was equal prize money to the men's event, which is the first time ever. And I finished 14th there, and it was a big result in terms of the quality of the field. So there were 6 of the top 10 players in the world playing that tournament, and a bunch of major champions winners, and just a really world-class field. So because obviously I play on the LET, so you don't always necessarily see the girls that play in America on the LPGA. You don't play with them as much as you'd like to. So that event really showed me that I can compete on that side of the tour as well.
And obviously you say there about playing against some massive names. How does it feel to be stepping up as someone slightly younger in the whole like golfing world. What is it like stepping up and competing against them? Is there like a lot of pressure from your side, or just more like, wow, I'm sharing this space with them?
Yeah, it's definitely more, yeah, wow, this is so exciting. I relish playing with better players. I absolutely love to play with the top players and sort of see my game compared to theirs. What's good, what's not good, where can I improve? But not obviously focus too much on them, but equally just know that there's a reason why you're playing with them, is in that you've been paired with them because you're good enough and you're good enough to be here. So that's always what I sort of take away from those moments when I get to play with these amazing people.
And you've played some amazing courses around the world, but you've also represented England ladies, Spain and Australia. What is it like stepping onto the course knowing that you're representing obviously the nation? Is there a pressure, or is it like playing with the big players? Is it more excitement that you're getting that opportunity?
Yeah, I think obviously it's amazing to represent your country. I mean, there's not many people that can say they've represented their country in a sport. So it was a massive honor when I was playing for England, and you always feel very proud when you've got the badge on your sleeve. And we when we were amateurs and we were going to trainings and everything, there was a big sort of thing around having the feeling of that you're who you're representing and why you're representing the country. And it was a lot of pride about being part of England. And I still carry that through now to being a professional, although I'm not part of Team England, because obviously it doesn't follow through once you turn professional. There's a lot of English players that have come through the ranks as well. And it's nice to know that we've also got the support behind the scenes from people that we used to work with England as well.
How does the whole process around, obviously you're representing England, how does that all come about? Was it winning multiple like competitions and then reaching that level, or is it just a call from like selection or the committee or whatever?
Yeah, so they have obviously a bunch of selectors that follow around the sort of amateur circuit, I guess. And in that year that I took as a sort of a gap year, I guess, once I'd finished uni, I had some good results that season, and then obviously had the big win at the match play. And I think they kind of gave me a bit of a punt, to be honest. And they called me up and asked me to come to the training sessions, and then I got selected for the squad. So it was a bit of a punt in terms of I hadn't gone through the junior side of England golf, which most of the girls had done. So most of them had been in the England girls team and then progressed to the England women's team. I was obviously not involved with the girls team, so I kind of come I guess through the side door, and it was a bit of a punt for them. And it was amazing because I was able to have some incredible opportunities with traveling, and like you said, going to Australia. I went for 5 weeks, and that was an amazing experience for me, having not had many international experiences on the golf course, having come to it so late. So it was great to be able to get those amazing times with other players as well.
And you turned pro in 2020 and you started on the ladies European tour. What was it like making the decision to go and fully commit to pro golfing? Was there any doubt in your mind, or was it kind of a just go for it?
I think it was kind of almost a little bit of an ultimatum in terms of I wasn't young, but I wasn't old. But it was a point where I either turn pro or I have maybe one more year as an amateur, but then I felt like I would be too old to sort of, because you need a few years once you turn pro to kind of get find your feet and things like that. And I must have been 23 or something at that point. So and a lot of girls turn pro a lot younger than that. So I was on the older side of things. So I kind of just thought I wanted to get into the pro ranks and see where I stood. And I wanted to try and earn some money as well. I mean, I had a lot of friends that had graduated uni, they got good jobs in London. And I felt a bit of pressure with that as well. Just, I wanted to earn my own money. I didn't want to have to, live with my parents anymore and things like that. So, I wanted to get in the big world.
Have you ever had any points throughout your career so far being a pro where you've maybe doubted the decision and maybe thought to yourself, oh, like maybe this isn't for me?
I think, to be honest, you have that every week. Every week you play, I think there's some moments where you think, oh, I don't like this, I don't fancy this. But I had periods, it must have been sort of the middle of my first year after the Access. So once I got onto the European Tour, I had a successful year on the Access Tour, which was the feeder tour. And then my first year on the European Tour, I had, a bit of a run where I was missing a few cuts. And, it's a lonely place to be when you're not playing well, because obviously it's very individual. And, there's times when you think, oh, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I'm not good enough. And it's so much about confidence and believing in yourself. And I had a lot of people around me, my coaches, my team, my family, people at Castle Royal that all, believed in me and, told me it's just, you got to crack on, keep dedicated, you work hard enough to be able to succeed. So I think I just had to tell myself, just keep going. But I was thinking I'll be realistic, and I was going to give myself a sort of a time period of years that if it was not, because, at the end of the day, you do want to be able to make a living out of your career. And if that wasn't going to happen, then it would be something I'd have to consider, definitely.
And you wrote in an article for Castle Royal that went up that you spoke about how in your last 13 events, I think it was out 8 top 20 finishes. You finished strongly, obviously, in the recent tour championships. What's your kind of aim looking forward now in the new golfing season as it kicks off? What's kind of what you're targeting for?
Yeah, so I have a couple, I guess, sort of goals, which are sort of middle season goals. So I want to play in the British Open this year. So the Open Championship, which will be in July. And the only way I can qualify for that is to be within the top. It differs, but it'd be within the top 12 to 14 players on the rankings for the current season. So I'm currently 21st on the Order Merit. So got a couple of months to, try and slowly get that down to get within those spaces, because I've never played in a major championship. And that's obviously a massive goal of mine. So that would be sort of my first goal that I'm really looking at right now. And then a sort of season end goal is to finish top 10 on the Order Merit, because then I can qualify for the LPGA Tour. So I can then play in America, which is sort of my end goal.
And you spoke also in the same article about obviously getting a lot of TV coverage. What's it like, when you're trying to get in the zone, trying to make sure you're hitting the best shot and you have a load of cameras coming over to capture it?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely struggled with that at the beginning when that first sort of happened to me, which was in Belgium really last year. And I actually struggled with it so much that I bogeyed as soon as the TV. I was doing very, very well. I think I was 7 under through sort of 14 holes or something. And, I was suddenly, leading or around the leading position. And I had all these cameras turn up, and it was quite overwhelming. And I actually bogeyed the next 2 holes. And I finished that round 5 under. So I learned a lot from that day. And then I went out the next day and I shot 7 under again. I shot 7 under the final day. So I kind of learned on my feet quite quickly with that. And I don't mind doing the interviews and things like that. I feel like I'm quite comfortable with that kind of thing. But definitely when the cameras are walking around, when you're trying to hit, and, golf is very much about routine and what you're used to, and being quiet and getting in the zone, keep focused. And then when you have a lot of buggies and TVs racing ahead of you to get the shot, it's a bit, obviously they're there for a good reason. So you always need to think they're there because you're doing well.
Yeah.
So just embrace it and be happy that, you're being watched by people on the TV.
And when you're obviously being watched, there'll be young children, young girls on there watching you and other female golfers. What advice would you have for people that maybe are interested in golfing about trying to make it pro? What kind of advice would you give them?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's all about enjoyment, really, especially for young girls. I mean, I think it's really important that we try and get more young girls in the sport, because it is still very, male dominated, especially in the younger kids that are starting. And girls don't necessarily want to start with golf. They might do gymnastics or ballet, or so it's trying to get girls interested in being outside and enjoying the game. And I think it's just really enjoyment, and let the child sort of do what they want to do and not be too pushy, because I think that was important for me. My parents were very, let me do what I wanted to do and didn't overly push me in terms of going to tournaments, like things like that. So yeah, I think it's great that I can be a role model for younger girls, and I hope that more people will get into the game.
And you've just come back from playing over in South Africa and from in Singapore as well. And you've mentioned about playing all over the world and other places. What kind of courses would you say have been your favorite to play or the most memorable?
To be honest, we play so many courses that you can barely remember where you've been. I have this problem with people coming and asking me where I've been, and I say, well, I can't really remember. But no, there's obviously amazing places. I mean, Singapore, I actually managed to stay a few days after I had finished the tournament to actually see the city, because I had flown halfway across the world. So we often don't get to see where we actually play, which is unfortunate because we often go to very nice places. But you're there for a short period of time and you're really there for work and for golf. So there's not many places I've been able to spend some quality time getting to see the cities and things like that. But yeah, I'd say Singapore was really, really impressive. And just being in Asia, I love Asian food. So, that was a massive plus for me. I really enjoyed that. But I'm looking forward to be going to America next month, well, in May. So I really enjoy going to Florida. So I'm hoping that'll be a great course. To start off the next stint.
And you've obviously got a little break there before you jet off again. Is it just going to be practicing and golfing again, or is there anything else you're going to be filling your time with? Maybe just relaxing?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a bit of downtime now since I've got back, and I'm starting to get back into practice now, get a bit of a practice plan going, because it's quite unusual to have this much time off. We had a couple of events that got cancelled, so we wouldn't usually have had such a big gap. But luckily, Justin Rose has put on, in COVID, he put on a run of events to help women professionals, because the tour was obviously not running, and he's carried that on the last few years, and he's put on another 5 one-day events in April. So they're just one-day events, 10K first prize, so decent day's work if you win. And it's just good to keep a bit of your eye and get competitive again, so that we're not having 4 or 5 weeks without any competition. So that's only really for English players, but I'm looking forward to playing in them and hopefully get a couple of wins.
Brilliant. And for a kind of a final question to round it up in terms of sport, and we tend to ask this for other people we've interviewed, if you could kind of have a sit down dinner or maybe share a Cadbury's chocolate bar with them, is there any sporting idols or just idols in your life generally that you'd enjoy spending an evening with if you could choose anyone?
Well, I mean, if someone said, yeah, I would probably say obviously Tiger Woods. I mean, it's a kind of a no-brainer. I mean, I've obviously grown up watching Tiger Woods and thinking how amazing he is, and I just think what he's going through at the minute is quite remarkable, how he's still playing. So he's always been an idol. And then also Annika Sorenstam, who is, I'd say, the GOAT of women's golf. She's the greatest of all time. So I'd love to pick her brains about loads of things. And she actually plays at the golf club that I play at in America, but I've never had the guts to go up and really introduce myself. So maybe if I start winning some big golf titles, I'll she might know my name, and then I can maybe I will share that dairy milk with her.
Well, I wish you all the best going out to America in the next competition. Thank you for joining me today. It's been a real pleasure talking to you.
No worries. Thanks so much, Harry.
Thank you everybody for listening. If you've enjoyed this and you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure to follow us on there. We really appreciate the support. Thank you for listening. This has been the Final Whistle podcast.